Hey everyone, that cut out a little bit sooner than I would like to have started. Let's try that again. All right, now with the transition, hello and welcome to Beers with the Beard. I am the Beard, and in today's video, I'm going to be going through the show page, which is a brand new feature in Studio 1.5. So I'm going to be sharing some screens with you, showing you what I'm doing in Studio 1.5, but specifically I'm going to be setting it up with the StudioLive mixers. I have a StudioLive, I've got a couple of StudioLives here. I've got a 64S back here, but I'm going to be showing the setup with my 16R, which is right here, which is what I have connected up as my audio interface. So I hope everybody can hear me okay. It looks like my UC Surface just quit. So let me relaunch that and make sure I've still got audio. If you're hearing audio, give me a thumbs up in the comments there just so I know. Something just happened with my universal control, so I'm relaunching it. So if you got audio, give me a thumbs up. If you don't have audio, I guess just hit me in the comments so I know. That way I'm not just talking to nobody here. All right, I'm going to relaunch here. We should be fine, hopefully. Not sure what happened. This happened earlier today also. I did do some firmware updates and stuff. I'm running some beta stuff. Yeah, it looks like I'm going to have to... oh, you can hear me. Well, my UC is not connecting to the interface, though, so I'm going to go ahead and relaunch my interface because I do need to show you some stuff on the setup of the 16R, and so if UC isn't connecting with it correctly, then that's probably it. It serves me right. I updated the firmware on my 64S today to some beta stuff we're testing. So let me turn that off. Maybe that might be causing a conflict with the UC server. So I'm going to turn off the 64S, reboot my 16R real quick. All right, where did it put my control? It says it is still... Where is my control? Ah, here we go. All right, let's get that over on the correct screen so that you'll all be able to see that correctly. Hello, hello, check, check. Well, now I'm not seeing any audio showing up in my 16R. And it's showing control is not connected. All right. Something is not right here. Give me 1 second. Technical difficulties. All right. And I'm back. Hey, check, check. So I've got, it looks like on my feed here in OBS, everything is working. I'm seeing my meter on the 16R. It seems to be in sync with my video. I'm seeing metering happening on my UC Surface, so that seems to be back up and good. So hopefully we're good. All right, I'm just gonna keep an eye on the comments here. Welcome to my world. Yes, indeed. All right, I always do a little test. I did a test a couple hours ago and everything seemed to be working, but you know, that's how technology goes, especially in this day and age of streaming. So the main thing I did is I got that 64S turned off. We're running some beta software, so there was a mismatch probably between the beta firmware I'm running on that mixer and the public release of UC Surface that I'm running on the computer, and then the public release of the firmware I'm running on my 16R. So it's probably conflicts going on there. Also, I've got UC Surface running, Studio One running, and OBS running, in addition to my web browser for YouTube. So there's a lot going on the computer right now, but looks like we're rolling right now. So let's get to it. You saw earlier I've got a St. Archer today. I've been sticking with a lot of these low cal, low carb beers. I started a new workout routine to try to get in shape, so I'm trying to be good. But I think one of the favorites that I've had so far is Dogfish Head makes one called Slightly Mighty that my friend Evan turned me on to that I really like, but it's really hard to get out here. It's more of an IPA style. But another one that's more local to here is called, what's it called? I can't remember the name right now, but it's from one of the local breweries here in Louisiana. So, all right. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about Studio One version 5 and how the show page works, and specifically how it works with the StudioLive mixers. And so for those who don't know, and if you're here, I'm assuming you probably know, PreSonus released new software for Studio One version 5. I think it was last week. It's been a pretty crazy week, so it feels like it's been longer, but I believe it was last week we got that launched. So the new Studio One version 5 has got a ton of awesome new features. It's really great software. I think the feature that I like the most is how cool the icon looks on my browser. Just kidding. The show page. The show page is very, very awesome. I've been playing around with it a lot during the beta as well as now. And there's a lot of really cool things you can do it with the StudioLive mixer. So if you're doing a live broadcast or if you're doing a live show, there's a handful of things you can do with it. So I was going to walk through how I've set up my mixer to work with it. So you know how to kind of set up the routing and things like that, know what some of those options are. And then we'll take a look at the show page. I'm not going to teach you everything about the show page, but I'm going to walk through a handful of things that will help you see some of the different use cases you can use it on with the StudioLive mixers. Studio One version 5, if you are a Studio One user, there are upgrade paths. If you're not, you can buy it. Also, one of the new things that PreSonus launched last week is a new product. It's called Sphere. And it's might be a little confusing. Some people, it sounded like it was like a subscription for version of Studio One, and it kind of is, but really it's a separate product. Sphere is its own thing. Sphere is a subscription service, but what it is a subscription service to PreSonus, basically. And you get all of the PreSonus software. So you get Studio One, you get Notion, you get all of the PreSonus add-ons, all the loop libraries, all the plugins. So everything that's PreSonus, you get with that. But in addition to that, you get a new workspace where you can collaborate with other users, share files and things back and forth really easily within that workspace, chat within it, as well as some cloud storage for your files and your sessions. And it works really well. It's integrated with Studio One right now, and we're just going to continue expanding it. But so there's Sphere. It's really cool. It's a subscription. It's $15 a month. if you go on a monthly subscription, or you can pay a year in advance, but it's really cool. So that's another way. If you don't have Studio One 5, or if you're wondering about it, you could just sign up for a subscription for a month and check it out, because that's one of the cool things with the subscription is if you don't like it, cancel it. And that's actually one of the motivations for PreSonus to continue to do great things with it is unlike just buying software, we want you to stay active and with that subscription. So we have to continually provide reasons for you not to just blow us off. But that's an aside. I just wanted to mention that real quick. Studio One 5 is what we're talking about. And that is continue to be its own product. You can buy that. You can upgrade to it. All the versions exactly as the same as they ever were. You can buy it. It's yours to keep forever. All right. So before we dig in, let me just check out, let's see what we got going on in the comments here. We hear ya. Love it with my 32 Series 3. Awesome. Sounds like we're golden. Yes, the everything bundle, indeed. Sphere is the everything bundle. We got a Sphere member. All right, signed up day one. Oh man, day one was a crazy time, man. The servers, we actually allocated 10 times the server bandwidth and space that we had for the largest download and purchase day in our entire history with Studio One. 10 times that, and we still ran into some issues with the servers, but hopefully everybody got sorted out. Everybody's good. So awesome. Glad to hear that you are on board. It's an awesome plan, an awesome service. So without further ado, let's take a look. The first thing I'm going to show you is kind of how I'm setting up the mixer. I'm setting up my mixer a little bit differently because I'm using it also to do the live stream. So I'm going to explain kind of how I'm setting up my mixer, show you a couple of things, and then from there we'll jump straight into Studio One, where we'll set up a show. And we're going to be setting up a show from scratch so I can show you a couple of different things with it. All right, so let's get over there. Oh no, I just lost UC Surface again. All right. Well, if you all can hear me, what I'm going to do then, I can't, I need UC Surface. So let me see if I can get it back. I might be able to just relaunch the window here. Somebody Skyped me. I wonder if I've got some conflict going on there. So, man, this is a bummer. Let me see here. Let me get my activity monitor up and we'll check this out, monitor some things here. Yeah. Something's getting squirrely. I wonder if maybe there's a conflict in OBS or something. Well, let's see here. We are going to relaunch the UC daemon. That usually will get things back. So I might disappear my audio again here for a moment. All right, got my universal control back up. Didn't have to restart anything. Okay, we're gonna roll with it. The main thing, I just need to be able to control the mixer from UC Surface so I can show you some of the things as well. I mean, I'm gonna be bringing in some individual tracks from the show page to show you how you can mix it on the mixer, so I need to be able to have that control. So let's jump over to my laptop screen and we'll take a look at what's going on here. All right. Let's move this out of the way. Oh, I've got two windows going on here. Let's turn off this one here. Oh, let's do this here. And camera one, we want to get rid of. There we go. All right. Much better. Okay, so here we are. I've got UC Surface. I'll do a quick walkthrough of what we've got set up here. And we have got, this is my main mix. You can see I've got my voices coming in. So channels 1 and 2 are my USB returns from the computer. That's just so I can hear, like when I'm listening to iTunes or a YouTube video or whatever. I just have that coming on 1 and 2. My microphone, I've got the PreSonus PX1. That's plugged in here on channel 3. But I don't have that routed because I don't want it coming through my actual monitors. And so what I have set up here is my mixes 1, 2 I have linked, and that's my computer send. So mix 1, 2 is my computer send. So this is what is being sent from the mixer to the computer. And so that's what we're going to be mixing on today. I've got my headphones set up so that I can monitor and listen to the computer send, because once we switch over to Studio One and I start bringing things in and turning up the mix, I want to be able to hear what you're hearing. So we'll do that. Before I get into that, let's just jump into the routing real quick so I can show you something here. So what I have set up in my USB sends, so my USB sends 1 and 2 are actually coming from mixes 1 and 2. So when we go into Studio One and I start setting up the show page and I start setting up my audio I/O, I'm going to intentionally avoid doing things on mixes 1 and 2 or USB 1 and 2, because I don't want to disrupt what I've got going on in terms of my playback and some of the live stream stuff. So I'm not going to be messing with that. I'm also not going to mess with channel 3 because that's where my voice is coming in at. So I'm going to be doing most of my stuff on the mixer on channels 4, 5, and 6. I'm going to set up 3 different tracks in the show page to show you some stuff. So that's where I'm going to be focusing. But just to show you, you can move things around. You can adjust stuff. So as you are setting up your mixes and your sessions and things like that, you can digitally patch where you want your USB sends and returns to go. You can also use AVB. If you're using a Mac, you can use AVB from your mixer and use show page with AVB as well. So that's how I've got it set up. I've already labeled a couple of these things. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to bring in some bass with a playback track. I've got some impact I'll be doing, as well as the PX1. So I've got my Atom controller here. So once I get the show page set up, I'm going to be using this to do some virtual instrument stuff, as well as controlling some of the aspects of my show. All right, so let me just check in on the comments. All right. Okay, it looks like we're good. So I'm going to now switch over. I should just be able to switch my screen over here. Zoinks! And we'll be looking at Studio One. All right, so this is a session that I had done. This was for the River City Studio sessions. This is a Sydney Sam, and it just happens to be a session that I had quickly available. So I pulled that up because I'm going to be showing how we can copy and paste a few things out of this and utilize some of the elements in this session. Because part of the idea is, if you've created your own songs, you've done your own recordings, your own arrangements, you can bring those from your song file into your show file for performance. So I'm going to jump over here. So I've got my song up here. So I'm going to click on show. And it's going to come up here and create a new show. So there's a couple of templates here for real instruments, stem playback, virtual effects rack, and virtual instruments. But I'm going to show you from scratch. I'm going to create a brand new show from scratch. So we're going to do the YouTube show page show. All right. I'm going to make sure I'm at 48K because that's what my interface is running at. Don't want any problems there. We're going to do an empty show. And we will hit OK. And that crashed Studio One. Man. All right. I've got beta stuff running on my computer. It's not a beta of Studio One, but I've got other stuff, and I'm imagining some of the stuff I've got with my drivers with some things, as well as OBS, are causing some conflicts here. So let's see. Let me just jump straight into the new show. Yeah, I know it did. All right, here we go. We'll do YouTube show. All right, here we go. Now we are in. Let's see. All right, looks like UC Surface is still running. Studio One is here. So now I am in Studio One. This is the show page. So over on the left is the set list. So any songs or arrangements that you have will come over here. This players section, those are going to be the individual tracks that you have, or the individual things you have set up to be using. And then on the right, you've got the browser, which is common to what we've got for the normal Studio One show page. Hey, Johnny, glad you could join us. Oh, where's my camera? There you go. All right, so to start off with, the first thing I'm going to show you is how to do some backing tracks. So one of the cool things you can do with the show page is you can have some tracks for playing back. This is something that's really popular for churches. They'll oftentimes have some backing tracks of different things. So you might have a smaller arrangement of musicians on stage, but you want to have maybe some strings or pads or some backing vocals or synths and stuff like that that you're going to play during the program. And so I'll see a lot of times people use various different software to do this. They get a click track going and everybody plays to that. They can trigger it. Well, you can do all of this from the show page. So first I'm going to bring in a track. So let's first do that. So I'm just going to hit to add a player. And let me bring this window to the correct screen so you can see it. And so when I create to add a player, I can add a backing track, a real instrument, or a virtual instrument. So I'm going to do a backing track. This is going to be bass. We only need one of them. I don't have any presets set up. I'm not going to load up any presets for this. We're going to keep it simple here. And right now it's the main output. Oh, because I didn't set up my audio I/O. All right, so let's go ahead and create this. But before we continue, let's go and set up that audio I/O real quick for our show. So I'm going to go to my audio settings. I'm going to go to my show setup here. Go to my audio I/O. So I need to set up my audio I/O. It looks like I don't have the right audio interface selected even, so let's fix that. Maybe that's what was causing some of our problems here. Get the 16R happening here, and then let's go to the setup. All right, so what I'm going to do is get rid of a couple of these. I don't need that, don't need that. And I'm going to just keep it simple. Like I said, I'm going to add 3 tracks here. Actually, I'm going to do it so it aligns with what I'm doing on the mixer. So we don't have that. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm just going to get them all lined up here. All right, we'll hit apply there. And now we've got those happening. Now let's jump over to the outputs and do the same thing. I'm going to leave the main left right just how it is. And I'm just going to add a few outputs here. Let's get those labeled because these are actually going to go back to channels. So we're going to go channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, channel 5, channel 6. And we'll set that up. Let me see, we got, let's take 1 and 2 off, and then let's start 3 right here with 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, we'll hit apply. And we should be good to go now. All right. Checking in, looks like a live stream is doing okay still. Yep, I've got audio, I've got me, I've got you, we're good. So back over here. Okay, so I created this track. This is our bass track here. I don't have a set list yet, so I'm going to create a song. So now I've got a song. We'll just call this song 1. And I've got this bass track that I created. Now I don't want this to come out main. Now when we take a look at my mixer, I've got bass coming in right here. That's on track 4. So let's go ahead and set that to track 4. There we go. Now I need some audio to play back there. So I'm going to go over here into my browser. I'm going to go to my files. Now that session that I had up earlier, I can just go into that session. That's the Sydney Sam session. I go to my media. I've got this bass track. And again, just like everything with Studio One, it's drag and drop. I'm going to drag that, drop it there. And now I've got a bass track. So this is the full track. It's unedited. In normal circumstances, you would have this edited and all set up. So when you drag your media in, it's exactly what you need. But for today's purposes, this will work. So now if I hit play here, I've got some bass playing back. If I go over here, you'll see that bass here. And now I'm going to put my headphones on because I don't want to blast you guys out. All right. So if I start turning this up, you should hear that bass coming in. All right, and there's the bass. That is the bass being played back from the show page. And you see on the channel, what I basically have is I've got it set to USB input. And so that's coming back from that USB return. So that's it. So now it's a channel on my mixer. I can mix that live along with, you can see I'm speaking and you can hear me speaking because I've got my voice. So I've got my live input. I've got some playback tracks happening all right here at the same time. All right, let's turn that down a little bit. All right, I'm going to jump back in over here and let's take a look at another thing we can do. I'm going to open up that song that this was in because I want to bring in the same settings that I used in that song. So let's jump over to the start page. I'm going to take my song. Let's open her up. It's loading. And then once it loads, I'm going to take the settings from that bass channel because I with the actual mixdown, I used the Ampere plugin. So if we come over here to my bass channel right here, you can see I've got a few plugins happening here. Let me just raise that up a little bit. I've got a few plugins here, but Ampere is this main one. This is an absolutely incredible sound. I was playing around and fiddling with it, and I loaded up this setting on Ampere, and it just like made everything golden. So I want to use that same sound on that playback track. So I'm going to take this channel here. I'm going to copy those channel settings. Now I'm going to jump back over to my show. And you'll notice here in the show, I've got a mixer also. And we'll get into some more details, but you can control a bunch of stuff here. I'm just going to hit here and copy those channel settings. And then as soon as it copies it, it should be there if I did it correctly. Oh, my bad. I hit copy again instead of paste. Derp. All right, let's try that again. We're going to go to this bass. No, that's my drum track. Here we go. Here's my bass track. I'm going to copy the channel settings. This time I'm going to hit paste instead of copy again, and it should work. All right, so I'll hit them here, and we'll hit paste channel settings this time. And now you'll see, if I raise this up here, now I've got all of those same inserts happening here that I had going on in my studio in session. So now when I hit play, I'm going to just jump over my mixer real quick so I don't blow you guys out. Let's turn that down a little bit and then hit play. And so now, a little bit of a different sound. So I'll turn these on and off so you can hear it. So there's the raw sound. But then with the track, I just copy and pasted those exact settings I used in the session right here. And now I've got that same sound on that track. So now I show up to the gig, bass player got sick, can't make it, no problem, drag in your tracks, we'll play along, no big deal. Or if you have some synths or pads and things like that you want to play in the background, or maybe some sound effects, you can load those in. So that's how you would set up a track for just playing back. And you can see I've got some stuff here I can do with it in the show page with the show page mixer, but I can also just have it set up to play back and be mixing it right there on a channel from my mixer. And so it doesn't matter. I can have multiple things, and I'll show you that in a second. I can have multiple things playing back, and they can go through a bus on the show page, and I can just have a single bus return coming up on the mixer and control everything at once, or I can bring them up all on individual channels. It's pretty flexible and awesome. So that way when you are working on a show, when you're doing a live show, you can give all the control of all of the elements of the mix to front of house to be able to control things, or you can kind of group things up and make it easier to manage. It's all totally up to you when you set up the show page. All right, so that's the playback track. So next, let's show a virtual instrument track. So I've got my Atom pad controller over here. You might have a keyboard or something else plugged in. And so you may want to be using this as a way to play back the virtual instruments. So again, maybe you arrange the song, or maybe you just don't have a fancy sounding synth or keyboard, and you primarily just do what you've got here in Studio One with your virtual instruments. You can load those up in this show page and perform them live from the show page. And the great thing with the show page is for every single song you set up, you can set up different arrangements, so it'll automatically change those profiles and those presets within the virtual instruments for each song. So you don't have to sit there and switch it yourself. As it transitions to the next song, or as you trigger the next song, it will change everything for you. So let's set up one of those real quick. So again, I'm going to go up here to the plus for players. And this time I'm going to choose a virtual instrument. We're going to use Impact for this one. Let's make this one a different color. We'll go with blue. And my input is going to be my Atom. And we'll stick with that for now. We'll go like that. All right. So now I've got Impact. It's my Atom. But I need to come over here to some instruments. And let's just drag Impact again. I'm just going to drag and drop because that's how Studio One is. It's pretty awesome like that. So if I pull up my mix now, I've got Impact here. I need to load up a preset, so let's load something up. What do you guys think? Gucci kit? Let's do a Gucci kit. All right. All right, so now if I go back to this mixer here, let's just move Impact out of the way for a minute. So you'll see once I chose a preset, Impact automatically sets up some individual channels. So that's just depending on what I'm playing. I've got control over individual channels on there. So I can mix those. And right now, by default, those are going to the main mix. But I don't want them going to the main mix because, again, I want those to come into a channel of my mixer so I can control it. So I could do that individually, but I don't really want to do that. Let me just close my browser here. I don't want them to do that individually. I want to have all of my Impact channels coming through one bus. So I'm just going to go ahead and come over here. I'm going to add a bus channel. Ooh, add it in the middle. Let's bring that. Whoop. Let's slide that guy over. Oh, come on now. Play nice. My trackpad doesn't always play nice with me. There we go. All right, so that's going to main. I don't want that to go to main. I want that to go to channel 5 because that's where I've got, if I come over here, this is where I've got my Impact is on channel 5. So again, this is channels 1, 2. My microphone right now is channel 3. And then my bass is channel 4. So I want this to be channel 5. All right, so I've got all these impacts. So let's go change these all right now to my bus. And this will help set up so that I'll have Impact coming through on that channel. And again, it all depends on what kind of virtual instrument you're using. I'm using Impact, and it happens to be that these presets set up this way with multiple channels. I just want to make sure we're doing that. So now I've got it all coming out here. And if I switch over here, you can see, ooh, that's a pretty hot signal. So I'm just going to turn that bus down a little bit. We don't want to be clipping them inputs on my mixer. All right, and now if I start turning this up, and there we go. So we've got some of that. So now I can come back over here. I can hit, if we're playing, I've got that bass coming through. And there you go. So now I've got a couple of different tracks. I'm just going to mute those so we don't accidentally play something we don't want to. So there we go. So now I've set up a playback track. I have set up a track with Impact so I can play back multiple things. And so I've got my virtual instruments and that. So that's some of the cool stuff that you can do, but there's one other really cool thing. So just to recap real quick. So I've got my show page here. I've added a track to be able to show my bass. I've added a track to be able to play back some virtual instruments. And those are all coming back into my mixer. So now I can mix them live during the show. All right, so that's kind of the basics. You kind of would expect some of that stuff. But another really awesome thing, one really cool thing is that you can also insert live feeds from your mixer into the show page to run effects. And so why is this cool? One, it's easy to set up. So you could do this before with Studio One, but then you've got the whole DAW and everything you're working with. But with the Studio One show page, you can actually arrange those effects for each song. So you can have those effects on all the different songs. And there's also a way you can, when you go into the perform mode, that you can actually manipulate some of this stuff that way too. So I want to show you that as well. So we'll get into that. So what I'm going to do now is it's going to be a little bit tricky. I'm going to take this microphone that I'm using right now, and we're going to take this microphone and we're going to feed, it's coming into input 3 on my mixer. And I'm actually not going to do it on input 3 because I don't want to screw up the input 3 stuff. I've got it digitally patched to also go into another channel. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, on channel 6. So I'm going to take channel 6, which I've got the analog input digitally patched to come on channel 6. I'm going to take that analog input on channel 6. I'm going to send it out over USB here into the Studio One show page. I'm going to process it in the Studio One show page and then send it back out onto that same channel 6 and run it as an insert. So I'll be able to insert some stuff. Now, a word of caution on this, because we're running over USB, there will be some latency that is incurred on it. Depending on your specific application, it may not be enough to worry about it. Depending on the horsepower of your computer, it may not be a lot to worry about. Your mileage may vary. So just keep that in mind on what kind of tracks you're putting on and how you're putting it on to make sure that you're not introducing too much latency. It's going to be a problem in your performance. But I'm going to show you kind of how it works right here because it's really cool. All right, so let's hide the mixer here for a minute, and we're going to go back in and create another player here. All right, now this time I'm going to do a real instrument. And so I'm going to call this vocal. Because it's my vocal, but I'm not going to sing. I won't subject you all to that. All right, let's give it a color. Let's go green. I'm going to make my input here input 6, and my output is also going to be 6. Check that out. All right. And again, I'm not going to use any presets. I haven't set up presets, but if you had presets, you could load them right here and they just come in with the track when you set it up. It'd be that easy. So there we go. As Rick would say, wha-bam. And there's my vocal. It's an aux input. If I pull up my mixer, you'll see it's right here. You can see there is signal coming in on it because if I come over here on my signal here, I'll just show you real quick. Let's see, make sure it's turned down. All right. So if I go over here, I'm already set up, but I'm just going to show you this real quick. So I was on analog, and you can see that the signal is exactly the same because it's just a digital patch from the same analog input. So it's this microphone, this guy right here. So I've got this microphone right here is plugged into input 3 on my mixer. Input 3 is digitally patched to both input 3 as well as input 6. Then I'm going to take input 6 because it's my channel, and I'm going to change that to the USB as its source. All right. And then by default, you'll see I've got some feedback happening here. And that's because by default, when you select USB as your source, your digital send source is also is going to be set to digital. But I don't want it digital. I want it to be analog because I want it to be this microphone. I don't want it to be the return. So when you have the digital sources as, let's say the digital source was AVB. Let's say I had a stage box and my input source is AVB. Now, when I send a USB, I want that digital send source to be digital because I want the AVB from that stage box to go into the USB to record or whatever it is I'm doing. But in this case, I'm running it as an insert. So I want the channel source to be USB, but I want the digital send source, that's what is being sent out over that USB channel, to be the analog source. So the digital send source as analog is actually going to pick the signal up right after the digital patching, which is before the fat channel processing. And so essentially you're going to be inserting whatever you have here in the computer right there. So it's going to go out right there at the source before your fat channel processing, then it's going to come back as a USB return and then go feed through the fat channel in your mixer. So that's what I've got right now. That's what we have here. And so if I come back over here, that's what we are looking at. This is the signal coming from this microphone from channel 6. And then it's this output right here. You see it's going out channel 6 is what's coming back right here. Okay, so. Wow, that's loud. That must be the air conditioning unit that's right outside my window. Sorry about that, guys. Golly. Okay. Man, that's obnoxious. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to let's add some effects. So one of the cool things that I like about having these things available in Studio One is I've got some of the additional effects here. So I'm going to go down here. One of the things I like playing around with is actually the multi-band dynamics. So I'm just going to add that in here. Oh, that added it to the main. Wrong place. Didn't want to do that. I want to add it on here. We'll just drag it up here. Be easier. Boinks. And there we go. So now I can add some dynamic processing. Let's choose this band here. Let's adjust it. Now I got some compression happening. Let's do some compression on this one here. Boop, 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 boop. Now I got some compression happening there, and I'm setting up a multi-band compressor on this mic input. So let's actually switch over real quick. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to mute this mic, and then I am going to bring up the return from the computer. So because I've got like a dozen things going on right now, I haven't optimized my buffer settings and things like that, and so my latency is going to cause a delay. So you will see a delay from the video and the audio. That's to be expected. All right, so let me mute this here. And then we'll turn this up here. All right, I've got a little bit of a weird sound happening here. Hey, Chuck. I wonder what that is. Well, anyway, so that might be just me hearing myself through two different sources on my mixer. Not sure if you guys hear both the undelayed and delayed signal, but I do. May just be the way I have it set up. But anyhow, so this is my signal. So one of the things I want to show you real quick, and I'm going to put a crazy effect on it just so that it's a little bit even more noticeable than what we hear right now. Let's go with oh, where'd it go? Come on, I just thought, here we go. Let's, no, not the auto filter. Where'd that delay go I was playing with earlier today? Ah, here we go, groove delay. So here's one of the things I want to show you. Ooh, groove delay. Groove delay. All right, so I've put a delay on my voice, and what I can do is set this up. I'm gonna switch back. I'm gonna mute this. Go back to this. Even, man, that is loud and obnoxious. Dude, golly. Did I have a high pass filter? Man, check this out. I could probably go like this here. Turn my RTA on. Ha 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 ha. Air conditioning, you are no match for me. All right. Still there, still annoying, but anyhow. Okay, so let's just jump back over here. And, oh, you're saying not hearing a delay. Yeah, I think it's got to be something the way that I've got it mixed in the mixer. So what I'm listening to, I think I'm hearing my original source as well as the playback source at the same time. So it's just got a little weird delay to it. Oh, there we go. Air conditioner's turned off. All right, let's tune that crazy EQ off then. All right. Cool. All right, no delay. Awesome. Well, I'm gonna just go back to that other one then. Hey, all right. Because I'm hearing it's like I've got a spaceman voice. I've got it's just a little bit of a slap back, a little bit of a chorusy thing happening. But if you guys aren't hearing it, cool. Why am I hearing it though? That's weird. Oh well, that's something I'll play with another time. Do I have something turned up somewhere here? I don't know. You know what? Don't need to worry about that right now. Okay, if you guys aren't hearing it, we're good. So here is my voice going through Studio One, going through the show page. It is right here on my vocal track. I've got a couple of plugins running on it. Let's go back, let's find that. So I've got a multi-band EQ running on it. Booyah! And I've got this groovy delay. Yeah. Okay, so if I've got a cool effect like that, there's a few different things. One, you can have that effect in one song and not in another. Or you can also change some stuff. But one of the cool things, check this out. I don't have anything set up, so it's going to look pretty boring right now. But if I go to this perform view, it gives me a really stripped down view of just a handful of controls. And this allows me to assign specific things to control during my performance. And I can assign some of these to a hardware controller. So let's do that. All right, so I'm in overview right now. Let's just go ahead and close the mix. It's just really busy. Let's close that browser. You just got a lot of things on the screen. And when I'm over here on my smaller screen, it just gets really busy really quick. So let's move away from overview and let's take a look at the controls. So these are all that controls of that mixer I just showed you. You can also change what you want the controls to be. So this is my perform, the view, right? So this is the default view here. And so I'm just going to leave it the default view for right now, but I'm going to go to button 1. And I want to add in my instrument. I want to go to my console. I want to go to my vocal channel. I want to go to my inserts on that vocal channel and to my groove delay. And I want to add the bypass. So I've got bypass chosen here. And I'm going to add that as a target. And now that button, if I go to perform, is the bypass for my delay. So delay on, delay off. Very cool. So another thing I can do also is I can assign that. Let's see here. Nope, no, I want UC remote. Let's make it Atom. And I'm just going to, let's see, we got a button there. Let's close out of this. All right, so there we go. I've got that now that I can control. I've got the target on there. I can even add multiple targets. I can set up, it's just like the macros that you can set up in Studio One in your channel editor. I can set multiple things up to a single control and do some cool stuff with that. Let's see here. Sounds good. No delay here. Good job, Ray. No air conditioner either. Yeah. Solo or monitor on the original signal. Yeah, so I would be able to solo or monitor the original signal because I have it on 2 separate channels. So I could always pull up the other channel and listen to it and solo it. But on the mixer, when you solo up the channel, you're going to be soloing up whatever the source is. So it's going to be the USB source that's coming through. So there's not like an elegant way to do that unless you're doing it on separate channels. Which you might want to just do it on separate channels anyway, especially if you're running like a 64S or if you're just not using all the channels. You can set up all of your inputs as normal inputs and use that as your monitor mix. Send that out to all the performers and then send all those also to your show page and bring those back on separate channels for your front of house mix with all your plugins. That way you don't need to worry about latency affecting their in-ears or whatever. So that's one thing to do, and then that would give you more flexibility in being able to solo and monitor the inputs as well as the source itself, as well as the returns. There might be a way to do it in Studio One or using the show page. I haven't dug into it. I'll make a note of that. Maybe using the listen bus, there might be a way to do that to be able to set something up, but I don't know how to do it right now off the top of my head. So let's see here. All right. Now I'm going to try to see if I can remember how to assign. So let's see. Let's do, here we go. I'm I'm going to assign this to, I'm just going to choose knob 4. That just happened to be what I had touched there. So I could do something else. If I turn knob 3 and then I select here, I can assign button 2 to knob 3. So it's, you know, I just right clicked on it. So I did knob 4. So right now, let me see if I can do this here, show you guys. So I've got my Atom controller here, and I've got knob 4 is assigned to my delay. I don't know why I did a knob. I probably should have done a pad or a button, but it's a knob. All right, so now while I'm doing my performance and I've got that one part of the chorus comes in, do, 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 yeah. And now I can do it right here from a controller. So I can program all of this stuff in the play control page here in Studio One and set that all up. So I can actually manage and control my plugins from a controller or from the computer that's running it from that simplified view. Let's go back over to our overview and do that right here from Studio One. So I'm gonna mute this one back up here, switch back over to here, take my headphones off. Woo-wee, there we go. All right, so let's pop back over to Ready Camera 1. Where is my cursor? There we go. All right. And well, bam. So it's not a complete, like, crazy thorough overview of everything that's everything, then show page. It goes really deep. We can do some more, and I believe that there's going to be some great videos from Gregor and Joe and others who are going to be putting together some videos that do a little bit more on the show page of, like, how you can switch through all the songs and how you can manage some of that stuff and trigger certain events to happen and rearrange songs and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things that you can do with that. I didn't get into any of that stuff, but I really just wanted to show you those 3 kind of use cases with the StudioLive mixer. So using the show page, I can use it to play back tracks. I can use it to host virtual instruments for my performance. And I can use it to insert plugins for my mixer inputs for live. And I can also set it up to control those plugins during my performance. And so those are just a couple of things I wanted to show you today because I was really excited about those specific use cases. But we can go into more detail to the show page another time. Is getting close to dinner time, but I did want to make sure I shared that with you. There's so much more on the show page that we can go into, and I would love to continue sharing more of it with you, and I probably will. We'll probably do some more. I'm going to take some of the stuff that I showed you guys today, and I'm going to put that into its own condensed little video that you can watch, and I'll put a link in the comments once I get that done and happening. But I wanted to show you just a couple of those things today. But we'll dig more into the show page another time. So with that, let me just pause there and open it up for some questions. I know this is new. There's some crazy stuff going on. So hit me up. I'm going to hit the comments, see what we got going on here. All right. I should make a song with that sample. I hope you're not talking about my voice. The sample of impact, we'll call it that. Or maybe he's talking about the sample, take a sample of the air conditioner. All right, let's see. I think this is going to help the church as well as my band do drastic improvements to live events. Absolutely, it will. You know, a lot of churches, you know, our church does this. They have backing tracks that they play. They set up a foot controller. It's just a MIDI controller, and it's just like with what I did with Atom. You just hit the foot controller, and you can trigger it to start and stop songs. You can rearrange the order of songs. You can have playbacks in, and that's the great thing is as you create it and curate a song, you can just chew it, move it around, hide it, create new show pages for different arrangements. It's really powerful, really flexible with being able to play back tracks, host virtual instruments. Have the plugins running. So you could have a controller sitting at front of house where the front of house person can be controlling plugins that are being run live. You can have a controller sitting next to the keyboard player that's hosting virtual instruments. So instead of buying this crazy synthesizer, just run it on the show page and just use the MIDI controller you've got plugged into your computer. You're good to go. So a lot of really cool possibilities with this. And that's what I wanted to do today was just kind of kick off and spur just the general ideas of what you could do, because there's so much that you can do. That would just the very, very tip that we're starting to get into, and we're going to dig into even more of it because it's pretty awesome. It's very exciting. Does Studio One come with any real-time auto-tune vocal plugins? It's not really real-time. You've got the Melodyne tools in there, but as far as like an auto-tunes type of real-time thing, I don't think we've got anything. I'll have to take a double check to take a look, but off the top of my head, I don't think we've got a real-time thing like that. Very cool. Does the show page allow me to change arrangements on the fly? Yes, it does. So for example, let me just add a couple more songs here. I'll just add a couple. Song 3. I'll switch over the screen so you can see what I'm doing here in just a second. Song 4. All right, so let's switch back over to that. Go zoinks. So I just added a few songs here, and you know, so if I'm playing, I'm performing. So if I've got my set list is in play, I'm playing my set list, I can just say, oh well, let's put that song next instead. Done. It's there. I can even come in here and I can disable it from the set list. So it's still there in the set list, but it's going to skip it. It's not going to do it. So if I did that with like song 2, say song 2, disable it from the set list. So now it's going to skip song 2. It's going to go straight to song 4. Oh, I changed my mind. We do want to do song 2. So let's move that after song 4, and then let's enable it. Now after song 4, it's going to go back. So you can absolutely do that kind of thing in the show page. So yes, you can rearrange stuff on the fly. The key is have all your songs and stuff there, and then set up your show list. Hide whatever you're not doing in that performance that day, and then you on the fly as things change. You know, if you're a church, when that worship pastor decides to do another extra couple of choruses, you can manage that with the show page. You can get through it. So let's see. Do you think I can control everything with Atom from the kit? Do you think I can control everything from Atom from the kit? Oh, from like a drum kit. Yeah, if you've got an Atom sitting next to your drum kit, if you can control everything from the show page from it. Again, yeah, here, let me just switch back to it again. I'll show you a couple of things here. It's not really that I need to show you things. It just, it'd be easier to see it here. So if I go over here to the show page, so I went to that, if I go to controls, I've got a few different setups of control. This is the default one. I can also just go just buttons and or just knobs rather. I can do just faders. I can do just buttons. The default is a mix of them. And so you can see if I go to just buttons and I switch over to the perform page, it's just buttons that are here. So I'm going to go back to the default one. And what you do is it's basically like a MIDI learn kind of a thing. So when I go into perform, if I just hit a pad on my Atom controller, if I right click on this pad, it's automatically coming up and, oh, not doing it. Here, let me try this. Here, I'm going to twist knob 2 here, and see, it says knob 2. And I can do that. So it's kind of like a MIDI learn. If I twist knob 3 here, say assign it to knob 3 on Atom. So you can go through and assign all the stuff you want. And the other thing too is when we were looking at that controls, I put that bypass button. You can put multiple things on there. So if I go to this fader here, I can go into my console and check it out. I can say that I want this to be my volume for my vocal, but I can also say that I want to be the volume for my bus 1. Remember, bus 1 was my impact. So now controlling that fader 1 is going to control the volume level for the lead vocal and for impact together. And just like the macros, the channel editor in the songs, I can control that. I can control the curve of how it's adjusted. So it'll adjust the vocal at a different rate than it adjusts the impact. And so it's that crazy level of customization you can do on the controls. So can you control everything from Atom? Yes, absolutely you can. And even more than you would have thought. It's just so deep and so awesome. All right, let's see what else we got. Any word on a user layer on UC Surface for the SL rack mixers? I don't have any specific updates on that. I can tell you it is the #1 requested feature that we've got, and so it is on our list of things to do, but I do not have any dates that I can share with you. But it is something that is on our to-do list, and it is the #1 requested feature. So you can rest assured that that is something that we will be addressing. Have not dove too far into it yet, but can you use automation in the show page? You know, that's something I haven't dug into either. I thought I saw something on there for automation. Let me take a look real quick. There's patches. I know you can change patches and stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to dig into it a bit more. It's got a read mode, so I just haven't done it myself. There's a read mode on there, so there is a way to do automation. I haven't dug into the automation part yet, but I will make a note to do that and make sure that we cover that in a future video for you. So I'm 90% sure you can do at least some automation stuff. I've just been playing around with like the routing and loading things up and running plugins and stuff like that and controlling them. So I haven't actually gotten into the automation part of it yet. So I will make a note to start digging into automation so we can cover that and get into automation, because that's another really cool thing. So we'll do that. You just answered my question. Yay. All right, cool. Let's see. When will the S3 firmware support Studio One 5 AUX channels in DOM mode? AUX channel. We're working. So that's Truckee. So there is a firmware update that we are intending to do on the StudioLive mixers that will make it easier to set up them as an audio interface with Studio One or any DAW. So you'll be able to route directly the outputs and be able to come in and out and stuff like that. So we've got an update that we're working on for that to be able to use the AUXs and stuff. I don't have, again, I can't share dates and stuff like that, but yeah, that is something that we're working on to improve that workflow, make it a little bit easier. That's exactly what I asked. All right, cool. Glad we nailed it there. Can you talk about the benefit of using AVB versus USB in regards to latency while using Studio One? Yes, I can. And it's a bit of a trick question right now. The reality is that today, when you plug in AVB to run your audio to and from the mixer with a Mac computer versus if you were to plug in USB, you're honestly not going to see that big of a difference in the latency. If you were set to 48K, you got a low buffer setting, both of them analog input to analog output. So that's analog input into the mixer. So going through the mixer, through the converters, through the mixer DSP, across either AVB or USB into your computer, back out of your computer, back across either the AVB or USB into the mixer, through the DSP, the mix, out of an output, so out of the converters again to an analog output. You're looking at probably around 6 or 7 milliseconds of latency. Which for some applications is going to be too much. And that's not counting whatever plugins you insert. Some plugins don't have a lot of latency. Some of them have a lot of latency. So right now they're going to be fairly equal in terms of the latency of AVB and USB. However, in the future, AVB will be incredibly more fast. So there's a couple of things that contribute to that. First, you've got the actual drivers on the computer. So right now, the implementation that Apple has on their computers for AVB, the latency for it and the way it runs through the driver in the operating system and the kernel, it just happens to have a latency that's very similar to what they have on USB in terms of what the computer gives you. Now, in addition to that, AVB has its own latency. So when you count in the latency of the AVB streams themselves on top of that computer latency, that's why it looks like it's about the same as USB. The reality is that AVB is faster than the USB transport in terms of in and out of the computer's driver. But you have that latency of the streams going across AVB. So PreSonus is a member of Avnu, and we are working with other manufacturers on AVB standards for interoperability, for Milan certification. bunch of stuff on that. I've got some other videos you can look at on that, or just check out avnu.org. That's avnu.org. There's a bunch of information there. But the long and the short of it is that for AVB interoperability, the default setting is that an AVB stream's latency be set to 2 milliseconds. So that means it will take 2 milliseconds to get from point A to point B. So from the source to the destination takes 2 milliseconds. So in the case of running a plugin on your computer, you have the stream going from the mixer to the computer, so that's 2 milliseconds. And then you also have it going from the computer back to the mixer. That's another 2 milliseconds. So that's 4 milliseconds of latency that AVB has on it just in the AVB transport. And that's just because the AVB default latency is 2 milliseconds. And that's just to ensure that if you're using smaller, lower bandwidth switches and going across a lot of hops, that you still have that guaranteed delivery and you without dropouts and stuff. But we are doing updates to our AVB implementation to allow you to customize that number. And while I can't tell you when those updates will be available, I can say that we have been testing some of it internally, and we get sub 1 millisecond latencies. And so basically you would be able to have roughly about a half a millisecond to go to the computer and back from the computer in the AVB side of things. And there's a lot of factors that play into exactly how low you'll be able to get it in your own practical application. But we will be able to reduce that latency on AVB significantly. And that's just on that side. The other side is the AVB driver on the Mac computer. We do expect Apple to be continuing to do improvements on their AVB implementation, and we are hoping that one of those that we will see in the future is the latency and the efficiency of their AVB driver that's built into the operating system. So with those two things combined, we will see AVB surpass USB in its low latency capability. It's not quite there yet. It's about equal today, but it will improve over time. All right. If a guitarist is playing live with backing tracks, can it control event plugins effects automatically without intervention, sort of like changing stomp boxes without having to use them? Possibly. I think so. I think that gets into the automation question. So I'm answering Greg Keaton's question. Can the guitar effects change automatically throughout the song? I believe they can. I'm going to hold off on saying definitively because I want to dig into it myself and play around with it, but I believe that they can. I believe there's some automation that we can work into a track. So for example, you triggered the beginning of the song, you got to count into that song perhaps, and then you've got a click maybe going to that song so you're staying in time, and then all that automation would follow along. So I'm gonna parking lot that, as they say, but I'm pretty sure you can, but we'll dig into that a little bit more. Also, when will it support the Listen Bus in Studio 1.5? Well, the Listen Bus already works in Studio 1.5, and the mixers will support the Listen Bus in Studio 1.5. It works now. I think there was like a bug or something with some of the DAW control stuff with the Listen Bus and the Listen Bus showing up in the list of buses. That's been fixed in the firmware, but the firmware hasn't been released yet. So the next public release of firmware that goes out to the public will have all the Listen Bus features of Studio 1.5 working on the mixers. Last question I've got here is, so an RM mixer has like 55 channels. Yeah, the 16R doesn't, but yeah, the StudioLive 32R and 24R have 64 channels of USB sends and returns. Can I use the channels above what I actually have with physical inputs to play backing tracks, leaving inputs for instruments? Yes and no. So what you could do is you can load up all of the tracks, and kind of like how I showed you with Impact, you can bundle some of those tracks into a subgroup and send that subgroup to the mixer. So you can have live tracks playing and then just have, a stereo track of everything playing back from the show page coming in. That's one way to do it. But even though you have 64 USB sends and returns, the mixer itself still only has 32 channels. So there's only 32 channels that can be mixed on the mixer. You have 64 sends and returns over USB, so you have a variety of different things you can choose to send, or you choose multiple things as well, or return multiple things or combinations of things. But you have 32 mix channels, so you're going to have to manage that through doing subgroups in show page as well as in the mixer and things like that to best utilize what you've got going on there. So. All right, well, we are getting, man, Wow, this one went a good time. I think we would have been a little bit better had I not had to spend the first 10 minutes or so troubleshooting audio. But thankfully, everything seemed to be rocking ever since we got things kicked off. So Lucas is chiming in here. Effects can be changed via patches in the show page. This can be switched automatically for each set list item, so switching guitar effects is possible. Awesome. Thank you for chiming in, Lucas. Appreciate that. Lucas is a power user. He's probably played with Show Page and Studio One a lot more than I have. I'm more of the mixer guy. But thanks for chiming in, Lucas. We really appreciate that. And if you haven't already, Lucas has made some awesome videos. He did a little top 5 things you can do with the Show Page video. He's got a lot of other cool videos. You can check those out. I believe they are, I think some of them are on the PreSonus page, but check those out. He does some great videos as well. Greg Havens is asking, can I somehow control the effects on my 16R mixer from the Show Page? Not right now. We don't have control going that direction. It is on our list of things that we would like to do. We have a very long list of things we'd like to do. One of the things to keep in mind is this is what we would call Show Page version 1. There's a lot more possibilities of what we can do with Show Page. And because at PreSonus we have the software and the hardware, it opens up a lot of cool possibilities with the integration that we can do. So you're going to see a lot more really exciting and cool stuff happening with the Show Page and the integration of our hardware. This is just version 1. So really appreciate you guys coming. Awesome, thanks. Thank you for all the info. What about subscription pricing for UC Surface so we can support some dev? Well, UC Surface is free, but we are going to be integrating some of the Mixer and UC Surface stuff into Sphere. At some point, you'll be able to do backups of your mixer and save and transfer scenes and presets and things like that. So that kind of stuff will happen. But we do have a lot of updates that we're working on for UC Surface as well. Don't worry about that. Just buy more mixers. You want to support UC Surface, buy more mixers. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate everybody tuning in today. It was a lot of fun. I really love this Show Page, so I'm probably going to do more videos with the Show Page. We were a little quiet on the channel the last few weeks. Part of it was because we've been working on these big releases. Thank you again for everybody for tuning in. We really appreciate it. If you enjoy this, give it a like. If you haven't already, hit subscribe. I know a lot of you are already subscribers, and I really appreciate that. Share it with your friends, and we'll see you next time on Beers with a Beard. Cheers, everybody. And I'm going to keep smiling while I change the transition.